Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to run through setting up Microsoft Syntex in a new pay-as-you-go public preview that will allow you to use Syntex but only pay, well, as it says, as you go. But what we mean by that is you pay per document. We don't know the pricing yet, but let's have a look at setting it up. And I'd like to take a real life scenario. And I've been a little bit naughty. I have this ridiculous pile of receipts. And these are actually from my summer holiday that I went on with the family. And they keep asking me, Kev, how much do we owe you? And I keep going, yeah, I should work that out. But I haven't got round to setting up the receipts. So had a little bit of time and thought this was a good opportunity to take a look. Okay, let's get going. You can see here I'm over at portal.azure.com and I've created a brand new resource group set up here. So I've just called it the Syntex Archie on there. It's in my subscription and it's nice and empty, which is good. Next up, I'm going to have a look over here at the admin center. So admin.microsoft.com/admin portal. So sorry, I should say this is the Microsoft 365 admin center this time. And I've expanded, I've clicked on the setup on here and there's all sorts of lovely setup things. And if I scroll down a little bit under files and content, I can see use content AI with Microsoft Syntex. Now, I should say that you can also do a search from here. So if you're not one for finding things, I've got 3 boys and they're not very good at finding things, it's fair to say. So you can also use the search for that as well. Once we got to there, we're going to click on that. And here you can see all the different impacts things. Now, this is interesting. You can see there's 2 different things. Previously, we just had set up, as it was, SharePoint Syntex, now Microsoft Syntex, and that's going to be the per user. But actually, we're going to go this time for the setup billing preview. So this will require an Azure subscription. Leon Armston got a fantastic blog that I'll link to in the notes about this one. He noted that your Azure subscription needs to be in the same tenant as your Microsoft 365 one. So don't forget that on there. But hopefully, if we set me here, I've got 2 different subscriptions and I'm going to go to the Visual Studio one. You can see there I can set up my resource group and which region it is. So I'm going to keep this in UK South and different items. You can see, interestingly, this is the region where your tenant ID and usage information such as site names will be stored. So when it comes to what you're processing, obviously the document data is going to stay where it is, but it'll have site names and it will have some usage in there. So think about that if compliance is important to you. Let's click on save. I'm going to say at this point, this is the first time I'm doing this. So I'm recording this live, trying it out, and caring is sharing. So I thought I'd share this with you to see what it goes like. But as you can see here, it's taking up a little bit of time. It says this may take a minute, but let's see how that goes. Maybe I'll do a little pause here and wait for it to carry on. Okay, that's done now. Now, quite excitingly, I did actually have a delivery at that time, so that interrupted nicely, but I have some nice new Pinata Lego and a tuk-tuk, so something to keep me entertained for this afternoon as well. But anyway, back to Microsoft Syntex. You can see we've got everything set up. It's put the different details there, so I can close, excuse me, so I can close that window. And this should all be set up. You can see there it's got my subscriptions been set up, so I can edit where that is. But yeah, it looks like it's all done. I guess the important thing, whoops, let's bring up and have a look and see what has been set up in the resource group. On here, nothing yet. Okay. So let's set up the rest of Microsoft Syntex. I assume that's the next step. The details I'm looking at, Leon Armstrong's blog is fantastic on this, that brings the different details, and he links on there to some of the Microsoft instructions as well. So once you There we go. So once you set up that billing, then you go through the standard Microsoft Syntex setup, which I'm doing at the moment, which is good. So here you can see we're going to configure the AI builder model creation, which sites should show the options, create structured and free form ones. Again, you may want to think about that. You may want to think about certain sites, no libraries. For my tenant, I think I'm going to keep that as all ones. I'm going to give it a content center name. Let's call it these. Let's not call it syntax. Let's call it the syntax content center. An RE. Sorry, Americans out there. And we'll set that up. That's looking lovely into my tenants, and I can activate that now. So again, it's going to take a few minutes, so I'll take a little pause right there. And a little sort of time jump ahead, and that is all activated. Now I have noticed this is a little bit small, so let's make sure everyone can see that, and we'll go to 125% on this one. So you can see once it's activated, it's given me a link to my contact center. I'm going to click on that to have a look in a moment, and then click on done. And that's just taken me back to this main screen. You can see I can go jump into that setup area again. What I like about this is there's all sorts of different things. So it talks about what the user impact is. Adoption and change is so important. Just hide that help and support. So it's telling you for these different areas what users will see when you enable this. So again, if you're enabling that for all libraries, that may not be something you want to do from day one. You may want to just enable it for a single library on a single site that you have a limited number of people, possibly only those licensed up, but you can make that choice around there. I certainly wouldn't in a large organization turn it on for everyone straight away, especially if you have that pay as you go, because if everyone gets excited, you're going to be after a hefty bill. So have a look out for that. Okay, let's go and have a look at the content center. So here we can see all the different models, but I haven't created any yet. So let's get started with creating a model. And there is exactly what I was hoping to see. I'm pausing slightly because I was expecting a couple of other models there, but maybe there's something I haven't checked on around there. And I know there was talk about adding a contract processing or some other processing ones. Maybe it wasn't contract. Maybe that's coming soon, but I'll try and have a look and check on that. But the one I want to do today is the receipt processing. Now, this is fantastic. I did a workshop for Collab 365 and demoed this, and it was really easy. What I really enjoyed was ESPC, Chris McNulty, of the Intrazone fame, among many, many other things, was there and gave a really good talk around Syntex. I kind of went in there thinking I'm going to know a lot of this because I've heard Chris speak to before, but he really covered a lot of things and did it in a great way. But one of the bits he really that really took my attention was he asked someone in the audience to come up with a receipt. So hadn't been trained, hadn't done anything on this. He set up this receipt model, took a random person from the audience. I believe they had a McDonald's one. They were slightly embarrassed about the amount of food. They actually admitted it was just for them, which I certainly wouldn't have done. But they took that receipt. It was in Danish, so even more of a challenge for it, processed it and managed to extract all that data. So really interesting to see. So this model you're taking here, you can see it actually gives you examples of this. It's pulled out those different things and extracted that information. So we're going to give this a name of receipts. What's next? Advanced settings. So you can see here we can give it a description for processing of any receipts into libraries on there. Give it some advanced settings, what content type. So we can either use an existing content type or we can associate it to a new one. Now I want to create a new one for that. Next I'll upload some files, save the extractors, apply model, blah, blah, blah. So let's create that. And you can see here we can do some training. So let me add a file. So here you can see some examples on there, and this is going to go to the training files library. So at this point, I'm going to pause and jump over to my phone, I think. And yeah, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to add some receipts to that. See you in a sec. So I'm in the OneDrive app and I'm going to go into the Syntex Content Center there. We can see it's all showing as empty at the moment. Then I'm going to upload this picture. So I'm just going to take a photo of the receipt I've got there. It's been sitting around in a bag with some chewy sweets the kids left in there. Thanks for that, kids. There we go. There's my image. Now I'm just going to select it and upload it into the Syntex Content Center, into training files. Nothing in there so far. Saved and done. Right, I'm going to add a few more. Then I'm going to cut over and show you what that all looks like. Okay, I'm back again, and hopefully you can see. Oh, let's make that a little bit bigger. I've done it again. There we go. And hopefully you can see some training files here because I used the app and I uploaded them. A little bit of confession time. When I did that upload, I couldn't see the files here initially, and I couldn't work out what was going on. What I've realized is that you can't directly upload into the Syntex Content Center. When you go into OneDrive, you'll see that there's no libraries listed in there. So I went back, created a new site called Holidays, which I'll show in a minute, where I'll process the main one, and I copy things into there. I had to rescan every darn file and then put it up there. I will be logging to the product group just for the OneDrive app, just to say that's a little bit rubbish. It should at least tell you that you can't upload things because it takes you through the upload process and then doesn't do anything, doesn't warn you that it hasn't uploaded. So not ideal, but just a warning if you're playing with that one. But anyway, I have some training files here, which is good. So I can go back to the model. We can see here we're back into the model area and I've got some files. So let's add, I'm going to add that, I think it's that bottom one, but let's add 6 of those and take a look and see what it can do. If we click on next, you can see it's looking through those. Now, interestingly, it's not the prettiest file. I intentionally have chosen these receipts to be a little bit awkward, but quite impressively, it has selected the address, Dolder Pratanya. Yeah, that's correct. The original merchant name, no, I don't think it is. I think that is actually SuperU. So let's see, can I instead, let's see if I can edit that. No, I can't. But anyway, let's have a look at the total. Yeah, 18137. Yep, it's identified that correctly. The original date. Yep, and the time. And you can see it's kind of picked up that dashes and turned it into a time. So yeah, I'm happy with that one. Good. Let's have a look at the next one. So when models are applied to these libraries, they'll pick it. So this is where I'm going to put those receipts where I've uploaded all those, and we're going to add it. And you can see there's some advanced settings in here. So you can either use an existing default view. Actually, I want to use a new view with the model info shown. And actually, I want to show thumbnails because I want to be able to have a look at those receipts as well. So you can choose those different options. Let's apply that one, and you can see here the model is active. On that, we can now classify and extract. So let's go to that library. There's France 2022. I've put them all into a single folder and I can see these different items. So let's classify and extract everything from there. You can see here it's processing this, and in fact that's been applied. So we will just need to wait a little bit of time and see what comes through in a minute. So let's take another pause and see what it can pick up. And we're back after a little bit longer as I decided to go and get some stuff. But as you can see, we've got the scans in there. All those scans are there and they've been populated. So I can see the merchant address. I think that was the one we looked at. I can see we've got a pizza one. Interestingly here, you can see it has got a total merchant address. And if we Let's not select it. I want to click on it. Just let me open it. There we go. We can see actually while it was a receipt, it's got a date on it. We'll see if it picked up date. In fact, we can see here. Has it picked up the date and the time? Yes, it has. So it's got the 23rd. Oh no, sorry, that's transaction time. So I don't think it's got that quite right. It has got the time there. Seems to think that's it's converted that Mardi to March. So yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, but it's not too bad. But that wasn't really a receipt, so can't understand why that didn't pick that up. Now, this was the interesting one. I can see that there's a lot of stuff. We got shopping from the Little in France. I can see it's managed to read that 133.36. I can only just read that. It's managed to pick it up. Hasn't managed to get a date or the merchant address, but not entirely surprised. Just while I'm here looking at this, you'll notice that the content type here is set to receipts. Previously, that was documents, so it's picked up those different things. Let's have a look through these. I can see it's picked up the merchant, excuse me, merchant address, 22nd the 8th. Yes, on that one, 188.57. Yeah, it's picked up that. And the interesting transaction date, it's put the details on there. Let's see if I can zoom on there. Yeah, it's picked up all the different things. Here you can see slightly out of focus this one, but it's picked up the 4229. It's picked up in Piniac rather than Domaine des Ormes. In there is a different one, 26 the 8th. Yeah, that sounds, yeah, there we go, 26 the 8th. So it's picked up all the different things. It's worked quite nicely. I'm going to remember to edit these, although I don't think it has any more card numbers. No, so that's all good on there. But as you can see, now here is a horrendous one, and I can see it hasn't picked up the merchant address or name, but it has somewhere got 26th of August, which I assume I can just about see a 26 there. So it has worked out better than I can do from that picture. I can see another one here that's nice. I can see it's picked up the merchant address, picked up the volume. Anyway, you get the idea from the different places and what can pick up, and it's processed all those details. And now I could do some things with that. I could kick off a workflow that could trigger when those things are updated and actually process. So I could send through an approval for those receipts. I could move those documents to different places. I could group those together and perform actions of it. With the power of Power Automate, I can do all sorts of stuff, but it has automatically extracted that. What is the cost of that? Well, that's a good question. And we will find out when Syntex goes to general availability. Sometime, I was about to say next year, sometime this year, so 2023, we should see it go to general availability, and at that point we'll get an idea of the costs for there. Chris McNulty at ESBC talked about the idea of pennies per document, so we're not talking about high cost here, but it will be interesting to see how that comes through. What's lovely is I know, speaking to certain other people, that what they've done is kind of turned on accounts for a bit and turned them off. So they've only paid for a single account to process a load of documents, then process them afterwards. Now, if you're doing those kind of batches, you're just paying for that batch. So you're not having to pay for Syntex all the time per user to get the benefits from it. So really useful stuff that will come through from there. As you can see, pretty easy to set up. I may do another video in the future on how you can actually build some of the more complex models and not use some of the generic ones that are there for the receipts. But for now, that's me. Thank you.